Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well tonight. I see a number of people in the chat. I've been able to talk with a few people in the run-up to this. So I should turn off the sound on my browser. Sorry about that. Everybody, hello tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. I wanted to quickly thank Salvador from 2 Cents Toys for this super chat. He says, I'll be at work by the time this starts, and it'll probably be over by the time I get a chance to tune in again. But I just wanted to show support, and soon I'll be surrounded by cats. And what he means by that is Sal is going to be coming to our place and spending his vacation, and we're going to get to hang out. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I cannot wait to see Sal. Everybody, hello. I see a lot of names in the chat right now. There's over 100 people here already. And I just wanted to tell you all that you got to remember, I have a sarcastic sense of humor. So when I say burnt out, half of that is sort of true. And the other half is me trying to find a name for the live stream that's not Michael is bored. Because I was clearly not bored. I couldn't honestly say that because I've been working on this Indiana Jones super review this whole time. I'm taking a huge chunk of my August to try and get that done. And really what it boiled down to today was I was just looking for a clever title that wasn't Michael is bored again. So I was like, well, I am kind of burnt out clicking this edit button over and over and cutting these little clips and the sound and everything like that. But I'm making good progress. I've been working on it for over a week now. And if you've been on Patreon, you've seen some of the progress I've been making. But a lot of things have happened in the toy and pop culture space lately. It's okay, Darth. One day you'll grow up and you'll get into it. Zing, but it's true. One day you'll wake up and go, oh my God, I've been missing this the whole time. There's been a lot going on in the pop culture space, and I haven't been addressing any of it because I've been head down working on this thing. So first of all, let's talk about what I feel is the real elephant in the room. Let me pull up this photo here, because I want to get your thoughts on this. This is nuts. Where did that photo? Oh, there it is. So this is the NECA Ninja Turtle sewer lair living room diorama for their action figures. It's one room, and they want $300 for it. Now, call me crazy, but I just feel like that's really high for 3 plastic walls and a floor. Am I nuts on this? Like, am I missing something here? Because this just seems insane. Now, Mike is saying that it's huge. But I mean, like, how big can it really be? Like, the NECA Turtle figures are what, 6-inch scale? So, I mean, this looks like a $80 to $90 3D print job off Etsy, and then you paint it yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I bet if you looked around, you could find resin 3D print plans for this and buy them for like $14.99. And Laser Pants is saying it isn't $300 big. I saw it in person. It's 2 feet wide. Yeah, like, that's. Oh, thank you, Jake. Very kind. Great to see you here, Tom. I know you're a big TMNT fan. I would love to get your take on the price tag on this. Like, Ninja Turtles is always great. The price tag is just blowing me away. I just can't figure out why they think they can justify this for $300. Like, this really does feel like a print job on Etsy. Like in other words, you could get the exact same thing with the exact same value. Like, there's no electronics in it. There's no special added features beyond just a few inert tchotchkes in there that could also be whipped up as part of the print package. Oh, you're free. Okay, well, let me send you the link real quick, and you can jump in here and we can talk about this. That would be really cool. Hold on a second. All right, so let me just send this over to Tom. And Tom is an expert on all things Ninja Turtles, so I cannot believe he's available to talk about this real quick. All right, so as we wait for Tom from Midnight's Edge to come on in and do this chat with me here, let me pull this down. So yeah, I was just kind of, oh, there's the man himself, Mr. Connors. How are you, sir? I cannot hear you. Are you there? Hello? Hello, Tom. Hello. I don't hear. Does everybody else hear Tom? Because I don't hear Tom. Oh, there he is. He was muted. Can you hear me now? I don't hear you, Tom. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just kind of blown away. I'm just kind of blown away by this. I'm sure that we'll get Tom here in a second. Yeah. The funny part about this.
Hello.
There you are. I can hear you.
Hello. Okay, yeah. Sorry. This week has been funky. Chrome has done an update, so every time I go into a stream, I have to reset my audio. I am so sorry about that.
No,
I apologize.
Dude, that's totally fine. I'm very casual on my random streams. So, sir,
it's nothing you did. That's for sure.
First of all, Tom and I have had, it's been my fault, but Tom and I have had a Ninja Turtles live stream about the licensees planned for over a year now. And we just haven't gotten around to it because I've been dragged into other stuff. So I apologize to everyone for Tom's rather rapid fire, unceremonious first time introduction on RetroBlasting, but I'm so glad that you were available. Tom, I got to know what your thoughts are on this NECA diorama.
Well, first of all, I got to say I'm geeking out a little bit because I know you've been on our channel plenty of times. But this is the first time, as you just said, I have ever been on RetroBlasting. So I am just going to bask in the glory of that for just 1 second.
Sure.
But actually, your timing is actually better than we could have expected, because I don't know if you saw the story that just come out. Nickelodeon / Paramount is already boasting $1 billion in sales this year.
Really?
Yes. And that I have to think it has to be all the NECA, Super 7,
yeah,
other licenses, because as you know, we're not going to see any of the Mutant Mayhem sales until this third quarter comes out.
Right. So, exactly. Yeah.
Which, in the other side of it too, they've only done like $8 billion in sales up to from between 2009 and 2022. So they had a huge boom in the beginning of this year, and as you know, like, they had the Secret of the Ooze and NT3 NECA figures come out. Super 7 did this great line, as I was pointing out in the chat. They actually have this turtle van I've been drooling over, which kind of reminded me, this diorama reminded me of that. It's like $300 just for that. And it's the same thing with the van I'm looking at, and the van's like $400 too, but this is NECA.
Right.
And I know I have a love-hate relationship with NECA. I know you're somebody who's definitely been a critic of NECA.
But I've taken
I don't know how
I've taken everybody's word to heart over the last year. You and Bobby and other people have said NECA has improved their quality. So,
they have.
I have gone out and purchased the Mirage Ninja Turtles set, because those are my Ninja Turtles. When I think of the Turtles, I think of that art style from the Mirage comics. So it's on the way. It's going to be here in a few days. So I'm taking a step back into NECA. So I just wanted to let you know that. So anyway, please continue.
No, all credit where credit's due. I think you may have played a large role in that because I think they took to heart what people were saying. Because a great example is between the Gremlins 1 and the new Gremlins 2
Mhm,
figures they're putting out. And actually, they're kind of reissues of their classic Turtles. And this is what a lot, or Gremlins.
mhm,
This is what a lot of us fans said is, why did you change the legs when the legs were perfect
mhm.
on the Gremlins 2 line? You went and I don't know if you saw them, but, like, some of these would come in the mail broken, and it
Yep,
got to a point where NECA would just stop like, I kept telling them this, and they just stopped responding to me.
yep.
And I know you had said, you found out that they were shipping it under, what was it?
Non-durables.
Non-durable. So I was like, "What is going on here?" But, yeah, so in, like, the last year or so, all the figures that I've picked up of theirs have been much more solid.
Uh-huh.
Their joints, they have like, I think even here I've got the TMNT set from part 2, and I think they've even improved just looking at it now, see if I can get my camera working maybe. Um, but, I think they even improved the joints on these compared to the other ones that were there before.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
they actually have more in the joint. Like, there's
Uh-huh.
even a 3rd area there compared to what there used to be, and
Right.
these don't feel as loose and wonky as they used to be. I mean, they're a lot more heavy
Uh-huh.
feeling,
Yeah.
solid feeling.
Uh-huh.
I've dropped these off the shelf 3 times now, and they haven't broke yet.
That
That's
right
another plus.
Okay, that right there is a that's a sunshine testimonial for a NECA figure. If it can survive gravity at this
Right.
point, that's okay.
And I mean, I even had the more expensive big 100
Right.
some dollar turtles, and
Mhm.
my pads on Michelangelo had already broken off. Now
Oh,
I can repair it fairly easily. It's not a big
sure.
deal, but that's just it, as you've pointed out before. We don't wanna sit here and keep having to repair our toys,
Right. Right.
especially when we're not even playing with them like we used to when we were
No.
kids. And new toys, you shouldn't have to, but yeah, they've got the joints all in there, nice and solid, it feels like. They're not it
Right.
doesn't so I'll give them credit where credit's due.
Mhm.
And I also have gotten, like, their newer some of their other newer figures, like, here's a more humanoid I get well, even though that's humanoid, but, like, like, they have the Dracula figure recently. I haven't
Oh, yeah,
opened
yeah.
it yet, but, I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's heavier feeling than a lot of the older ones they used to put out.
Right.
Um, so, I mean, on that note, I can say I can't wait to hear your assessment
Mhm.
considering you haven't really messed with them in a few years, but I hope they took it to heart. I think you may have had a lot to do with that.
Well, it's very kind to say. I just kind of distilled what had been the din for several years, and then when because I even though I'd been hearing that in the din, I really really enjoyed the original Mirage for NECA Turtles that came out back in like '08 or whatever it was, and they were actually pretty solid. But then their quality started to go downhill, and I heard stories, but I wasn't really collecting much from it. And then when they said they were doing the arcade game figures for Alien versus Predator, I was like, "Oh, I gotta have those." And then
Right.
that one Predator, like you know me, I restore toys, I repair stuff. I'm very careful with my collections, and I knew the stories about NECA. I knew it up front. I had that thing boiling in water, and then I had a heat gun ready at the same time, and it was fresh out of the boiling water, and that arm still snapped off. And I wasn't even moving it hard. I was being very careful. And I thought, man, this is bad. So I went ahead and did the video. Um, but that was me just kind of putting a punctuation on a sentence that hundreds, if not thousands, of other people had been writing for years on the message boards and stuff. And I just kind of brought it all together and said, "What gives, NECA?" So yeah. Now, that being said, a lot of people, Tom, have been saying that the NECA Turtle van is far more worthy of the price point that it was given in light of this sewer. In other words, they're saying, yeah, a big vehicle that fine, an inert diorama, not so much at this price.
Yeah, and I don't maybe the van I was looking at was NECA, but I thought it was Super 7 because I know Super 7 was doing the Ultimate line,
Uh-huh. Yep.
so maybe it was, 'cause I was talking about it actually last night on or the other night on the show, and yeah,
Hmm.
we were looking at it, and it all comes apart, and there's all these little features in it and everything, so is it worth that much money?
Yeah, the NECA
I was
Turtle,
like, maybe 200, but,
right. The NECA Turtle van pre-order. I'm trying to figure out what the original retail price was because people are now already trying to scalp it for some reason. But I don't even think it's out yet, is it? or maybe it is. I can't remember.
Let me look at the one I was looking at because we may be looking at 2 different vans here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna double check.
Because I know Super 7 announced one, but I'm thinking
that's what I think I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so according to this April 4th, 2022 article, oh no, it's NECA's official Facebook posting. It was a $250 van.
Well, that's a little bit more. Okay, so this must be the Super 7
right
that I'm looking at here.
Right.
Oh, yep, Super 7. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a lot better price than this. I don't know if you've seen this one yet. Let me share the screen here.
Okay, pulling it up.
Yeah. See, this is $474.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a lot of features and stuff, but that's where I was like, and it comes completely apart to where I'm sure you can do whatever you want with it. But I'm like, God, that's pricey.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that because it's for the Ultimates line, it's going to be slightly out of scale with the NECA stuff.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
But as you can see, I mean, they did put a lot into it. I mean, but again, I'm not so sure I can justify that kind of a price tag on it.
Yeah, I couldn't drop $475 plus shipping on a turtle van.
Yeah, no.
Where would I put
I've
it?
got most of the Super 7 line too, which bothers me.
Well, I have as you saw from my video, I picked up a bunch of the core characters from the Ultimates line, and I thought that they were, decent when the prices hadn't inflated again. I was like, there's not as much articulation as you could get on another figure from another brand at an even slightly lower price point, but you are getting a 7-inch scale. I thought I was very fair in that video with those, and I said, but now that they've upped the price to almost $60 a figure, and they still haven't upgraded any of the tech in the figures and stuff, I'm more reticent now that I've got the core to really stretch myself, elsewhere.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Like I bought like the 4-packs as they come out, and now that they're getting to the lesser known characters, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I've got the main characters. That's all I give a crap about.
Yeah, I'm actually more interested when they brought out that Mirage 4-pack that was based on the slightly later art revision design, and I was like, oh, I can finally do my poster from when I was a kid, the same art they used on the NES box cover, I can finally do that with some figures. I thought, oh man, I hope they re-release, I know they've done a new shredder, but I kind of want a shredder that's more of like the lavender and silver rather than like the all blue or whatever it is. And I'm going to pick up that Splinter, and then I'm crossing my fingers that they do another April in Mirage style, but I don't know if they will. So
yeah, and there's this other company doing turtles too. Is it BXN? Am I getting it right?
Yep.
Okay. Now I like some of the looks of some of theirs, but I haven't picked any up yet to actually.
Yeah.
Because
they're little. Yeah. I showed Melinda at Walmart the Buffy the Vampire Slayer figures that they had in quantity. And she, even as a massive Buffy fan, she kind of looked at them and went, pass. I was like, wow. So apparently there's a mixed reception on that.
Really, I've liked how they've all looked with the turtles themselves. That's the funny thing about it.
Yeah.
Because they're an odd mix looking. I don't know if you've seen them or not, but
I've seen the turtles. Yeah, I saw them hanging on pegs back when they were out. Yeah.
But they did just recently release the art. What they're going to do Token Razor, but they're going to look like the cartoon versions, and I'm kind of digging it. So it's like,
right.
I'm like, I kind of want, but I don't want to get into the BXN ones. I'm like,
yeah, because then you'd have to buy out all the rest of the figures to have, because they're a different scale.
That's the other thing I was looking at too. Is I'm like, are these in scale with the rest? But no.
So we have Playmates in the game. We've got NECA in the game. Super 7, BXN. They just announced the Mezco ones a few months back, so we know Mezco's in the game. I don't know. Somebody said Bandai did some at one point, but that might be an old license.
Those are the ones they did, and they've been putting them with like Cobra Kai and Stranger Things, I think it was, or whatever it was. I think that was Bandai, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But yeah, I don't know if they still have it or not, but I've seen those in plenty. Those are everywhere. Yeah.
Right. I saw the Playmates packages that were doing Street Fighter 2 versus Ninja Turtles. So that was a shock to my system. I did not know that was a thing until I ran across it at Target. But my thing is, how can one Ninja Turtles fan absorb all of this cost at this point? Like, if you're a Ninja Turtles completist, you must be in a real world of hurt right now.
I mean, I know as a fan, we're kind of used to like Playmates. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Ninja Turtles have the biggest toy line as far as toys go back then, or one of the biggest besides maybe GI Joe?
Yes, they
As far
did.
as figure wise, so like
Mhm.
we're already kind of used to this extensive collection, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of have to just do what I'm assuming you're kind of doing too, and that is just pick one or two and stick with them. Because if you like what we were saying with the BXN things, like as soon as I start buying one or two of those, then I've got to get the core crew, and
Yep.
more space I don't have,
Mm-hmm.
and Playmates is already doing a lot of the reissues of the originals and stuff. So I've been getting suckered into a few of those as well, as I'm sure you may have too.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like I said years ago, I was like, well, I'm good with my original issue #1 Mirage NECA Turtles. I don't need to buy any more. And then somebody who was a friend of mine really wanted me to talk about the Ultimates, and he was telling me how good they were. So he sent me like a few without me knowing it, but it was just enough that I had to buy like 6 more to get the whole package. So I did
Right.
that for that video, and I was like, okay, they're all right. I don't like them as much as my Mirage NECA Turtles. And then NECA comes back around and says, hey, we're going to bring out the other Mirage NECA Turtles from a few issues in. And I'm like, dang it. So I jumped in again. Now, full disclosure, I know NECA has done the cartoon turtles a few times in different paint jobs. If I could find the cartoon turtles with their mini series look color scheme, brown shell, green body, all that kind of stuff, I would be probably pulled back in for one more round.
Right.
But
Right.
they said they've brought those out before, but they were like Target 2-packs or something that came and went like that. And I'm like, I ain't going to pay inflated prices for them. So
They'll probably get reissued.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's like with this here, like,
Mhm.
I mean, I would have normally not, but the
Right.
price point on these is right too. That's what you got to give Playmates
Right.
especially compared to the He-Man Origins line.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't update them like they did with Origins, but you know what?
Right.
At a $10 price point at Walmart, with inflation, that's actually cheaper than what we paid for them as kids. When
Yeah.
you think about it,
Yeah. It's kind of like how Origins started out before
right?
they inflated their prices, which I'm not going to get into that here because I don't want to be like, I told everybody so. But I was like, I knew the moment that Eternia got offered, I'm like, you guys buy into this. They're going to raise those prices on everything.
Well, and
And
that's just it. I paid, well, this just because it was a Walmart exclusive, but $40.
yeah,
$40.
$40 for Moss Man.
It's not worth it, kids. This one, it's not. Sure, it's got more articulation. It don't even smell no more.
Oh, are you
It
kidding
smelled for
me?
half a second, and it was like,
See, I didn't jump off. I didn't officially jump off the Motu Origins train. It just I was waiting for those next round of Snake Men to come out like late last year or whatever it was, Tongue Lashor and a few
yep.
others. And I got caught up in other things and forgot that I was waiting. And then I looked back and it was like, oh, they've got Point Dread out now, and they've got Screech, and they've got, all these other things out. And I'm like, crap, I got to catch up. And I've never bothered to go and load up my pile of loot on Big Bad Toy Store and get those things moving. So I've heard about the Moss Man, but when I heard he was $40, I was like, $40? Like,
Honestly, you might as well wait till it goes on clearance at Walmart. They're not going to sell them all.
no, they couldn't
No
possibly.
way.
Yeah.
Because when Walmart does their exclusive, I'm sure you know this too. They make sure they get plenty.
Oh yeah.
They're not like some of the other ones where they're limited, like Target.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to find these for the next few months in Walmart. I guarantee it. They had 3 at my little podunk Walmart.
Oh really?
So yeah.
Okay. Well, see, that's a little more encouraging because I've been seeing Point Dread consistently, and I do want to pick that up. I know that they always sneak into the artwork some of the next stuff they're doing, and you just kind of have to wait and see when it's going to come out. But like, I do want them to do a Night Stalker to go with the Stridor. So there's things like that. I need to pick up the Screech, even though I have no idea what was up with that Skeletor that came with it. I was like, I don't remember this Skeletor from anywhere, but I've got to pick up those. But yeah, the prices on Moss Man are an indicator that Motu Origins might go crazy. I mean, I did not crowdfund the Eternia, but I
Okay,
do.
I think what that was is
Mhm.
they did this line of prototype.
Uh-huh.
Is that what that could be? Because I'm looking at it now, and it looks like he's just basically naked Skeletor.
Yeah,
Is that what
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking
that's
about?
it. That's it.
Okay, he's got a different color hood.
Uh-huh.
I think that's what it and he's not wearing the other side. I think they because they did this line of prototype versions of the characters. I think that's one of them.
Ah, great. Like I don't mind people who want naked Stratos, but I didn't want naked Stratos.
They are very much pushing this origin line over the edge. Like I've literally this is practically the end of the line. Like the Snake Men are the only
Yeah.
ones, like you said, that I could even remotely think about. And I'm pissed because I still ain't sorry
No,
about
no,
the
no, you're fine.
language.
Pissed
I
is
was
good.
mad
Yeah.
because I didn't get the hairy Grizzlor
Right.
because that was a I think it was San Diego Comic Con exclusive or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
It was
Um,
dumb. It was they
and I
made
haven't been
both
able to
of them
come across
exclusive.
one.
They made both of them exclusive.
Yeah.
They made the Horde box originally with the Grizzlor with the darker face. That was exclusive, and then they were like, "We're bringing out standard Grizzlor. Oh, thank God, he's also exclusive." Thanks, Mattel.
That's why I haven't been able to find one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's like one of the only Horde guys that I want that I haven't been able to find. And yeah, like once I get through the Snake Man, I'm done.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't need anything else. I don't need any of the because you know they're gonna hit She-Ra characters next, probably.
See, that's where they're gonna probably tempt me to come back into it because I never had anything but She-Ra from that line as a kid. So it's like, oh, if they, but then I'm like, no, Michael, stay away. Like I know they haven't done too bad yet, so he's still outstanding, and Modulok hasn't come out yet. So I'm
There's a
like,
few of the later ones, I think you're right, yeah, that they
yeah,
haven't, but, I think what they'll do I could be wrong, but since
mhm,
they have, I think an easier time with, She-Ra, the big thing with She-Ra is that those toys never fit with the He-Man line,
right.
and when they did the She-Ra for the Origins line, she fit with the He-Man, so I'm wondering if the next thing they'll do is, like, the She-Ra characters in the Origins form, is
That
my
would yeah,
guess.
that would be I freely admit that would be a little tempting for me to go back in if as
Right.
long as they're not too many exclusives and stuff like
Mm.
that, like because I wanna get the Snake Mountain and have that to go with my Grayskull, and then I promise everybody, you've heard me rant about it before, I really don't care about Eternia. I didn't care about it as a kid, and I don't care about it now. So, like, it didn't look like the city in the cartoon. I did not care about it. But, yeah, like, if they do She-Ra, I might be tempted to go back in for a few.
For
That
me, there's only a couple of She-Ra characters I'd give
Mhm.
any cares for, but for the
Right.
fans of She-Ra, I hope they do it because
Yeah.
she deserves it as far as, like, never getting to be a part of that, but that's the thing, the other problem is maybe they won't because there's always been that separation. I was actually surprised
Uh-huh.
when she got an Origins figure. I was like, "Wow, they actually
Oh,
did a
yeah.
She-Ra?"
Yeah. Did you pick it up?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so name your characters then. What are the characters from She-Ra that you give a crap about?
Probably Shadow Weaver,
Uh-huh.
the the, Bow maybe.
Yep.
I don't really care much about the rest of there's not too many of her friends that
Friends.
I care that much about.
Right.
It'd probably be more horde oriented.
Uh-huh.
Um, maybe a couple of the other main characters, but um, She-Ra I was never as much into. I was one of those when She-Ra came around, it really bothered me. It
Right.
feels like to me, it felt like a replacement, and I'm like,
Well, especially well, I guess it wasn't the Filmation front. I don't remember who gave the directive, but I remember there was some conflict there. Maybe it was on orders from Mattel because they were like, scrap the He-Man show and go with She-Ra. And I want to say it was Filmation
it
that
was Filmation who did that actually,
Oh, okay.
because they had plenty of He-Man still, because they actually had a whole season left
Mhm.
to air, and then Filmation was more into She-Ra because they co-created the character, so they got more out of it.
Right.
Plus, they used all the stuff they learned from He-Man, that's why She-Ra looks so much better than
Oh,
He-Man
yeah.
too, on top of it.
Yeah.
Plus, I think they had a lot more money to work with. But unfortunately for the toy side of things, it really burnt the brand, and I remember when She-Ra'd come on, I'd watch He-Man, and then as soon as She-Ra'd start, I wouldn't even come back in the room unless I heard He-Man's voice.
Right.
Because at that point, I'm like, "It's not a He-Man episode, I don't care."
I remember being really
I
confused.
was a boy.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate the story more as an adult. I'm like,
Sure.
it's a lot more complicated than Adam's story was, but yeah.
Sure. I just remember being confused by, as a child, I remember being confused that the Horde was part of the Masters of the Universe toy line, but they were showing up as the villains in She-Ra's show. And I was like, wait, but that's not part of the Princess of Power line. So we're collecting the Horde because they're so cool, but they're never showing up in He-Man. So it was a very weird time. It was just like, what? Like,
Yeah, and that was actually more Mattel's fault at the end of the day because the as you know, the Horde was meant to be He-Man's next big
right.
thing after the Snake Men or whatever, and then as they were developing She-Ra, they're like, well, she needs some bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she can use these. Okay. Well, initially the guys were developing She-Ra, and the Barbie crew got the word of that, and they're like, well, we can't be having the guys do a girls line because they were already jealous because He-Man was outselling Barbie at that point.
Oh my God.
So they came in and I know conspiracy theory. I think they kind of sabotaged He-Man in a way.
Uh-huh.
They turned it into a girl's property when there was no real need for it because they already had Barbie.
Right.
And they really didn't add anything to those characters that you didn't already get with Barbie. In fact, you couldn't really do as much with them. All you could really do is her hair.
Right.
If you think about it, like, and she rode a horse.
Right.
You can't change her outfits. You can't,
right.
Do the Barbie accessory thing. Like you could, that's where I think they lost vision of what this was. It was like, no, if you wanted to get the girls involved and the guys involved at the same time, She-Ra should have been in the exact same form as Teela.
Right, right.
And the men should have all looked just like He-Man.
Yep. Yep. They changed the whole format of the sculpting of the toy line, and
they were incompatible in that sense.
Yep.
Because when you've got He-Man, who's this big hulking guy, and Bo, who's literally this little, like,
yeah,
it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger standing next to Brandon Lee.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, that's not how this works. I mean, in the cartoon, they're the same size, right?
Right.
And that was my kid brain is like, this is bull crap because he's just almost as big as He-Man. Why is his toy a third of the size? It makes no sense.
Right. Yeah. So. I think what I'm hoping, and this is just me, is that because they've already done the She-Ra, the Teela, the Evil Lyn, and everything's been kind of uniform, that if they intend to do those, the plan is to keep it going in that style. So it all, but toy companies have made stupider decisions before. So I'm fully prepared to see them screw this up. And then there really is no enticement.
And to be clear, in the audience are saying it wasn't just a different scale though, guys. They changed the articulation and everything.
Right, right. Yeah.
Like the articulation of the She-Ra characters are just like Barbie.
Yep.
They are in the image of Barbie, just smaller.
Yes.
So Bo's actual articulation is just like Ken's.
Yeah, Brian.
As opposed to He-Man.
Yep. Bo was like a Secret Wars figure.
Thank you. Exactly. Like that was the problem. Is like you didn't have the swivel, and you didn't have the legs on the what do you call it? The rubber band.
The rubber band or the banded legs. Yeah.
Banded legs. Thank you. I was trying to think of the actual term. So you didn't have any of that, which made Masters of the Universe unique at that time.
Yep.
As I'm sure you've pointed out in plenty of your videos. Yeah.
It made it very unique and very maintenance headachy today. Like trying to replace those bands is like you just want to punch a nun. You get so frustrated. But
it's got to be worse for GI Joes, I imagine, though.
Oh, for GI Joes, it's easy. Like as long as
because you can take them apart, or
there are no screws in the He-Man figures. They're all sonic welded together. So you have to like use like vice grips and pull the band through the.
Didn't you do it once on a video? I swear
I did it once, I think, in a series of photographs, and then
I swear you've talked about it before.
I've talked about it, and it's why I gave up on collecting vintage Motu. I wanted to have the whole vintage run, and I've got a lot of them from my brother's collection when we were kids. He kept them immaculate, but those bands wear out anyway. And I was trying to fix some of them, and you can break the figure more trying to put a new band in.
I was going to say, I think you said in that video, if I'm not mistaken, it's probably been couple of years since I watched it, so forgive me, but
yeah,
I think you said at that point we're going to reach a point where these are going to be irreplaceable because they're just going to dry up and we're not going to be able to fix them, and we're not going to have any He-Man figures left anymore. They're just going to all be in pieces.
Yeah, and the thing is that they have made the bands. The fans have done the best work, and they've made the bands, but the repair job itself is hair raising. I mean, it was a spare He-Man. I had an original He-Man. and I was trying to replace his band after I had successfully replaced the band in a Snake Man figure. I was very proud of myself. And I went ahead and I said, well, I've got this down. I can do He-Man. And I ended up cracking off part of his fuzzy britches.
I think you showed that, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, and that was just because I was trying to get the band through and crack. And I'm like, oh, geez, okay.
See, I do watch your videos.
It's
been a while since I've seen a lot of them, but
no,
I know
no,
it's like...
we are mutual viewers of each other's content,
I can even sing the theme song, so there.
The theme song that everybody's like, where'd it go?
I know people miss it. I do miss it, but
it's gonna come back soon, because I save it for special occasions now. So like it's gonna come back for a live stream. Sal from 2 Cents Toys is gonna be here physically at the end of August for Labor Day weekend, and we're gonna do a stream together. And I'm gonna bring it back for that, just like I did.
Cool.
Before. Yeah, it'll be fun. Snell's World, thank you for the super chat. He says, after the Origins line ended, we're getting the Filmation line. Is that true?
If that's not surprising if that's true.
Okay. Well,
didn't they do that already, basically? So they'd be recycling it?
Kinda, because I know they already did a Tila that was more in, I have it, the one that came with Zoar, that's kind of more cartoon colored than original colors that came out first. And it's almost like they've dabbled in it, but they haven't quite gone full.
Well, if they stick with the articulation, I'm game.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I think I have in a box somewhere the old, like just the main cast of the old Filmation when they did them before.
Yep.
They were similar to the original toys, but they did them in the Filmation color scheme or whatever. But yeah.
Oh, were those the ones that were Super 7? Where they were like...
It might have been Super 7. I'd have to look. Yeah, they're in a box. I'd have to look.
Yeah, they were like the old school build, but they had resculpted heads and recolored. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah. Let's see here. We have a lot of stuff going on in the chat. Bromide is saying Galaxy Warriors will finally have their day. Now, Tom, I think this is a great segue. You brought up Motu, and so now we're on that. That Blu-ray set that came out from Germany a few months back that like sold out in seconds.
Yes.
What is the lack of interest stateside to bring that out here?
Well, we actually did a segment with one of the gentlemen who's been a part of the Filmation DVDs that came out back in the day and up through this release. And he said the biggest hurdle is Universal.
Oh.
They just don't want to spend the money because the I'm trying to remember how much I can actually say about all this, so forgive me, but because some of it was stuff that he told us in behind the scenes, and some of it was stuff on the show. But like basically, because He-Man has gone through so many, the show itself, Filmation, has gone through so many sales. They initially were bought by, I believe, L'Oreal back in the early 90s, and then Hallmark bought them. And then they passed through this other company that ended up becoming Classic Media, which ended up being bought up by Universal, which is how they ended up in Universal's stable. And basically, just from what we've heard, they just don't have the interest in revisiting the show. The popular rumor that went around for years that you've probably even heard yourself was that, not just from us, but from other places, was that they had destroyed all the film negatives from all those shows.
Yep.
Now, we don't know how accurate that is. There was supposedly somebody who worked at Hallmark who was upset that they had to go through and do all the scanning of all this stuff. And supposedly he tossed all this stuff out afterwards. But that doesn't seem to be accurate because it's popping up in different places. What James had said, the individual we were talking to, basically was that he thinks they did a poor job of cataloging where it was all at. Not only that, everything's under different names. So he went through this whole story about discovering what they thought was lobby cards ended up being like actual animation cells.
Oh my God.
So like he's going through all this stuff, and in the computer it's like under one thing, and then like the people that said, oh, you can come get these lobby cards if you want them, they turned out to be actual animation cells. So he's been slowly finding, he just made a trip recently to the US where he's been finding it's scattered throughout all these warehouses, through all these different places.
Right.
And he says he's seen 35 millimeter prints. So there's some that do exist that we know of.
Wow.
Now, they tell us that this version comes from an up convert.
Mm-hmm.
I only buy that as long as that's what James is going to sell us, fine, but I don't buy.
Right.
I think there may have been some scanning involved and they found some prints. They just don't want to say anything because the way these boutique companies work,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a few of these guys that I can't say where they
Sure.
come from, but they come from Germany, let's say, because that's where
Mhm.
one of these companies are. It's not the company that put these out, I will say that.
Right.
But they have told me similar things where like the studios are very stringent on what they'll give you,
Mm-hmm.
but if they can find better quality stuff, they will use it, and sometimes even without the studio knowing about it. But the only downside is if they find something the studio doesn't have initially, they have to tell the studio, and if the studio doesn't sign off on it, they can't use it. This has happened with a lot of like extended cuts of movies and such.
Right.
And there's all kinds of politics and red tape that goes into it. But like, if you have gotten your hands on this Blu-ray set, you're a lucky person because it is amazing. And like I said, I'm not even 100% sure these are all up converts. They claim they are, but I'm not sure on that.
Yeah,
because they look good.
Yeah, the samples I've seen is amazing, and I wasn't able to get my hands on it, but I've seen some of the episodes, and they are, I mean, they look great. I mean, all credit to whoever produced those and did all the hard work because they look amazing.
Yeah.
Scott Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Just because I feel like this is the pop culture version of Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein having a discussion. Outstanding. That's very kind.
Oh, well, thank you.
Very kind. Sorry, Tom, you're about to say something.
No, I was just, unfortunately, it's just Universal's really the only ones getting in the way of it. They don't want to spend the money or time to redo it, even though they could possibly get the same masters. We could hope and fingers crossed that they might at some point, but that's the thing is it's a lot of money that goes into rescanning a television show when there's a lot of episodes involved. That's why I'm not going to hold my breath for HD versions of like TMNT anytime soon. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Now you're like me. You have a big physical media collection, and
you could say that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And so I don't know if you'd heard about this, but so Disney pulled a stunt on its music emporium with the CD soundtrack for Dial of Destiny. And
holy cow.
Right. So it was announced sometime in May or June, I can't remember, ahead of the movie. And they said it would be up exclusively on Disney Music Emporium for pre-order, and it would be coming out sometime on around August 9th, right? So everybody was like, cool, can't wait for the CD to come out because John Williams' last score, last Indiana Jones movie, we're all going to, be ready to buy one on August 9th. You could pre-order it, but, there was nothing that said it was limited. They just said it's coming out on August 9th. Well, sometime around right before the movie came out, the listing disappeared on the Emporium, just disappeared with no sold out, no nothing. It was just gone. And everybody was trying to figure out what the deal was because they'd promoted on Twitter officially and they'd done all this cutesy, cringy stuff, as corporations do. And finally, after they banged on the gates long enough, Disney came out on July 19th and said, oh, sorry, that was a limited edition. We apologize for the inconvenience. And that was it. And everybody was like, but you never said it was limited. And why would you limit it that strictly?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So now people are getting their discs after this big dust up. So the dust up happened in mid-July. People get their discs in August now knowing that they've got a gem on their hands, and they're throwing them up on eBay for these kind of prices, and people are paying them. Like there are bids on these. So I'm trying to figure out what Disney's play is because, when Bob Iger came back, even though, my take on CEOs, I don't like them. I don't care who they are. But when Bob Iger came back, he was like, oh, we're going to revisit some of our legacy revenue streams because we realized that we jumped into streaming too quickly. And yet you see stuff like this and you see them canceling physical media in Australia. And you go, now, wait a second. what exactly are they referring to then? Because I thought they really needed some money right now. I'm trying to figure out what their strategy is, and I honestly can't pin them down.
Yeah, and you're right. I'm looking at it here now. All I can get is the MP3 version here in the US. So,
Yeah.
I mean, granted, most people are not that big of, a deal if it's whether it's MP3 or CD, and you can only,
Right.
spend 10, 12 bucks on the MP3s. But no, for those who are physical media collectors like ourselves, that is the kind of thing that drives us nuts. And I don't understand the logic behind this because love or hate the movie, one thing all of us agree on is that John Williams is just as important as the hat, the whip, and Harrison Ford himself when it comes to Indiana Jones, if not maybe even more important, because I've argued they should have James Bonded this thing by now anyway. You can
Yep.
still keep the music.
Yep.
James Bond still has the same music. He just has
Yep.
different actors.
Exactly.
But that being said, like, this is insanity considering this is probably the last soundtrack we're ever going to get out of John Williams.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I know Disney doesn't respect anything they own. I get that already, but you would think that they would know that their customer base has respect for a lot of the stuff that they own and that they are addicted to money. So you'd think that they would want to at least put out a prestige set of all 5 soundtracks, or something like that, because fanboys like you and I, we like to buy stuff that reminds us, it's tied to these things. We don't just want digital access. We like buying, box set Blu-rays, and with all the stuff in them, and we like buying prestige format action figures that I don't understand why. And I don't mean to ramble, but this is what I said back when Disney bought Lucasfilm. I said, this is going to be interesting because Disney has never been good at managing action figure licenses. They don't know how to do it. I said that back in 2012. And here we are, and it's like they don't like putting out CDs, they don't like putting out physical disc movies, they don't like really managing toy lines property and merch. I want to know where the profit margins are in having a warehouse full of crates of IPs that you've bought that you never let out any piece of. I don't where is the money rolling in on that? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, because if they're this is the only kind of media I'm going to buy out of Indiana Jones.
Right?
I ain't buying the movie.
No
way.
No.
So this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, it's not even available on vinyl.
And the vinyl, they say, is coming out soon, but it's later and it's also limited. But they say they're making more vinyl. I know, right? They say they're making more vinyl than they did the CD, but they're not telling us how many. And I'm sitting back going, that's great for vinyl people. I'm a CD collector, so I would like the CD, please. And they're like, nah, it's over.
Yeah, so I hate to break vinyl folks' hearts, but you do realize that most of the music's digitally mastered, right?
Yeah, yep, right. Thank you. You're getting an aesthetic thing now rather than an actual analog, mastered thing. Whereas, I've only downloaded music when I absolutely had to, and I always download it off of 7 Digital because 7 Digital storefront sells FLAC files. You can actually
check them out then.
Yeah. I got the Dial of Destiny soundtrack from them as FLAC, and I got a K-Flay song that never came out on CD at all, and I got that on FLAC. But yeah, I was blown away that at the bare minimum they weren't even putting out a general release, because the soundtrack for this movie, as far as the track listings, it's not that impressive. There's a lot of music that got left on the cutting room floor for this release, and it's like, well, you would think they would have at least put that out for enough people to buy it if they did such a low effort pressing. But you would also think that somebody in there would have said, hey, this is going to sell a lot better than you guys are giving it credit for, and we need to come out with an expanded score from the get-go, maybe even do a 5 soundtrack set. And everybody was just like, nah. If they had ever ran across their mind at all. I'm blown away. Eric Sullivan, thank you for the super chat. He says, thanks for the great conversation. Tom, hope you're feeling better. Michael, send hellos to Melinda and Broken Vader, please. Good to be here. Cheers. Good to see you here too, sir. Thank you, Eric, for being here. Yeah, I was just kind of blown away by that. So I was just curious, as you also are a physical media guy.
Yeah, that bothers me, but thank you for the well wishes. In fact, my parents just showed up, so I do gotta run here
No
shortly.
problem.
I apologize, but,
No, you're good. I
yeah, that
appreciate
is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, especially considering this is probably one of the bigger soundtracks they would have this year besides Guardians.
Right. That's what I thought, but nope. Well, tell your parents I said hello, and I hope you have a great evening with them. And thanks for jumping on, man. I appreciate it.
No, this is my pleasure, man, absolutely. Like, I was surprised you were even set up for it. I wasn't sure if you were going through OBS or what. I didn't wanna, like,
Oh
you
no.
know, just say, "Yeah, let me in." No. I'm like, "Hey, if you want me to, I'm here. Yeah, go for it."
Yeah, no,
I
I,
had a little
I
time.
appreciate you weighing in on that Ninja Turtle stuff. That was perfect timing. So
Yeah, I don't know if I can justify spending that kind of money on a little diorama thing like that. Yeah,
no, I couldn't, especially when I bet you could get resin prints of that easy. So
probably.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michael, for having me. This has been a blast and a pleasure and an honor. And hopefully we can do it again soon. We definitely got to talk some more turtles and other toys soon.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
know you're always welcome on the morning show or whenever over there. Just let me know
Mhm.
you're available.
I appreciate it, sir. And if you need anything from me, you know how to reach me. So,
Will do. Thank you
all
so
right, man.
much, man.
I'll
And
see
thank
you
you
soon.
guys for listening.
Yeah, have a great evening.
Take care.
Take care. See ya. Chronically Online. It wouldn't be rude. The problem is that I don't know. Can I get you a link through Instagram? Is that? I think that's right. Let me. I think that's correct. Let me see if I have the Instagram link here real quick. Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're not on Instagram. I can't remember where you are. Instagram or Gmail. Okay. Now I'm trying to figure out. Are you chronically online on Instagram? I can't remember. I can't remember who you are on Instagram. Conrad is here. Conrad, so good to see you, sir. It's always a pleasure. So glad you're here. Yeah, so there I was, like, before Tom popped in. There I was, just trying desperately to keep my head up and keep editing. And I'm working on this this script for this. For those of you that don't know, I'm working on this really big Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny script review, whatever you want to call it, with a 0 and a 3. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Sorry. Okay. Tell you what, send me a Gmail with this. I'll watch for a Gmail, and then I'll see if I can bring you in. So anyway, I was working on this. I was working on this script, and it's a big long form movie review of Dial of Destiny. And just to give you an idea of where I am so far, I'm on page 42, and I'm not even done. I am not done with this script, and it's already clocking in at an hour and 15 minutes of finished video, and I still have a whole chapter to lay down that I recorded today. I've still got to write God knows how many more chapters of this, and I've been working on this for the last 5 to 7 days, from like 8:30 in the morning until 9:30, 10 at night, stopping for lunch and stopping for dinner. So all of this, I'm not good at that. There you go. But yeah, so yeah, I shall, KBA. I shall. But as part of that, I was just I was just starting to not burn out. The title of this was a joke. It was getting rather monotonous, and I thought, well, I could do with a break. So I thought I would just this Toy Addictions, this thing could be 3.5 hours long when it's done. It's going to be a long form video review of this movie breakdown. but yeah, it's going to be crazy, but I've got to do it. So I think we might have Chronically Online here. He sent me an email. Okay, so but I think I have your okay, but I'm just going to send you the thing via this link. So there you go. All right, sent. So today, for example, as I was Satara, any longer and Harrison Ford will be demanding a salary for all the screen time. Well, journalistic fair use. I'm not playing any full scenes or anything like that. I'm really trying to play fair with the studios on this one, but I do think this is worth digging into because there is a lot wrong with this movie. But so today, for example, I was working on this this little tweak I had to do because there's a visual that I need for this video. So I don't know if you've ever seen this photo. I've posted this photo on social media portals before, but this is a photo from me back in 2019 when we were in the UK, and that is my Adventure Built hat. Now, that hat was made by the same guy who made the hats for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Now, this hat was made before he got that job. In other words, he was a fan hatter who got that job. Chronically Online is here. Good to see you, sir.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So, so just to end this story real quick. So I've since gotten new Indiana Jones hats for my everyday wear. And as part of that, as part of this review I'm doing, I needed a visual comparison. So temporarily, the Adventure Built hat, the one that's from the guy that made them from Indy 4 that I've had since 2004. So I've had my hat since well before Crystal Skull, and it was made to look like Raiders. I had to take it out of its Raiders configuration and make it look like Dial of Destiny for a clip that I'm putting into this review. And the only way it let me do it was I had to promise this hat that I would put it back in Raiders configuration as soon as possible. But today I was working on getting, you can still see the tight crease trying to poke its way through, but that's essentially what I've done to this hat to make it, you can see it better like that. That's the Dial of Destiny pinch on the front.
Nice.
So I've been working on all these little bits and elements for this huge review. So I was kind of starting to get frazzled. It's still in theaters, Brian. According to a video I watched today, it's still in about 700 theaters. So, but it is dropping fast. So, Chronically Online, how are you, sir?
I'm all right, my friend. How are you?
Can't complain. We're going to get scheduled for that Revenge of the Sith commentary here soon.
Hey, we're good. No worries. I know you've probably been Kylie Minogue. Can't get out of this nightmare. The Star Wars prequel trilogy's killing me.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah. That's the thing, man. Like this whole, I was telling Melinda last night, I was like, this is so weird. The tragic poetry of everything. Like, you know, we said back in the day when George Lucas signed over Lucasfilm to Disney, a lot of us were making the statement that this was the most anti-corporate man possible, and he became what he beheld. Like, he did everything possible successfully to stay out of the studio system, and then at the end of it all, he just hands it over to the biggest studio in the world. And I was kind of like, that's really weird. And now we're looking at Indiana Jones and how they've mishandled that. And who would have thought back when we saw Raiders and, you know, the Ark gets put into a big warehouse of crates and Indy is so mad that everything's gotten locked up in a vault, never to be revealed again, that Indiana Jones has been handed over to a company that is obsessive about its vault, and it's obsessive about keeping things locked up and hidden away. I just, you can't write this. Like, I'm sorry to go on a rant about it, but we've been talking about the prequels together for the last few months. So I feel like it's I feel like it's on point.
No, 100%. It's really hard to not have just a totally black-pilled outlook on entertainment, because every couple of months I'm watching something else just get knocked off its pedestal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, is that the idea? They want to zero us out? Like, what could we possibly be like? We're going to be forced to go back to sticks and stones. There's not going to be anything left.
And I'm starting to be okay with that on a level, you know, like when Disney said the other day that they were going to price hike. I've never gotten a Disney Plus account anyway, but they said they were going to price hike Disney again. They're going to price increase it, Disney Plus. And then they said, oh, and we're canceling physical media in Australia. Oh, and all these shenanigans just happened with this Indiana Jones soundtrack, which looks like that's going to be their MO going forward for physical media. I said to myself, well, if they don't put anything out on physical media anymore, then what's going to happen naturally? It's not going to be a boycott. It's just going to be me never watching any of their stuff anymore. And you know what? The sun's going to go up and the sun's in the morning and it's going to come down at night and I'm going to still be breathing and everything's going to be fine, because Disney is not an essential business. It's not farmland. You know, it's not a water reservoir. It's not a house builder. It's not, they are completely unnecessary at the end of the day, non-essential, I guess you would call it. So
yeah, I don't know where we go, man. I'm right there with you. I'm never going to have a Disney Plus account. Now, by happenstance, somehow Verizon like forced me into a free 6-month thing.
Yep.
Where it was just like, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an unfortunate story with that. I got this weird, brave rush of courage where I decided, I think I can see what happened in Rise of Skywalker. And me and my therapist are still working through that. When she held that key up to the Death Star, I like fell off the couch. I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's I don't even really know how they're continuing to. It's almost like in a cartoon where somebody trips on a snowy incline and the snowball around them gets bigger and bigger the farther they fall. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what we've been watching with the way the Star Wars side of the business has played out with Lucasfilm. Like they started out on a trip. Like the first thing out of the gate, they tripped. And then we thought with Rogue One that they were catching their balance with those next few steps, because it's those next 2 or 3 steps after the trip that determine if you're staying upright or if you're falling. And then unfortunately they face planted right after that with Last Jedi. And it's been a tumble down a mountain ever since. After Willow and Indy 5, I really don't know how much interest there could be at this point for the Ahsoka series, especially after Mandalorian season 3, which I was never against Mandalorian. I didn't have Disney Plus, so I wasn't interested, you know. But like, I know Ahsoka from the Clone Wars. I got to really like that character. I don't have any interest in watching this show. Like, I don't like. I got a friend to help me watch the Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries, much to my regret and dismay. But I had enough interest to do that. I don't know that I have enough interest to do that again for Ahsoka. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Well, you look at the trailer reactions to the one that they just showed a couple days ago that I sent you, that I had my Millennium Falcon Force Awakens experience with, where I was like so mad, I was like tearing up. Mm-hmm. They're now weaponizing Hayden Christensen because he's going to be in the show. You know, they've got his lines and everything. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's awfully convenient how, you know, they come into Force Awakens going, oh, well, you know, we're going to go back to practical sets and we're going to eliminate the crutch of green screen. Yep. And then they're pretending, oh, well, we always liked the prequels, right?
Even though their sequel trilogy basically chloroformed the prequel trilogy right from the get-go with that opening line, this will put everything right.
Yeah.
You know?
And now, you know, once again, they're leaning on a piece of technology like the volume, you know, where it's essentially the same thing, but that has even more of a tell than I feel like a lot of the blue screen stuff did in the prequels.
Right, because they're filming all these shows in that, you called it the volume. That's that dome thing or whatever it is.
Yeah, the little rotating like hall of mirrors.
I have heard that there are episodes of Mandalorian that feel like they were filmed in a fishbowl.
There's, I mean, everything. The new Thor movie, the clips that I've seen, I'm
Mhm.
like, I feel the claustrophobia in this shot.
Uh-huh. Oh, that was filmed in that whole thing too.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's not good.
They're getting their money's worth out of that. I mean, that's like if George had continued with more movies, he would have done all green screen. That's their big thing that they're leaning into. And regardless of what they say, you can just feel it's like that they're not using lightsabers with the reflective rods anymore. They're actually using FX sabers in the shows. Like you can feel the way these things look on camera. You just can't get around it.
Sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, like when they have to add the After Effects sparks in those Vader and Kenobi scenes, it's like, I know that's not actually there.
Yeah.
I can see the tube.
It's weird to me because, they've been talking a lot about the last few weeks about how these inflated budgets and everything, have led to all the chaos in Hollywood right now, the bad financing and the all these movies bombing, and then the writers and actors striking because the residuals are all going straight up to the executives and all this kind of stuff. And you look at the inflated budgets of things like $350 million for an Indiana Jones movie that wasn't any good, and I'm coming to the lightsaber thing. I'm just trying to set myself up for it, but when you think about that, and you apply it down to the granular level and you go, well, yeah, every lightsaber that they have in all of their Star Wars projects now costs 3 times as much as the lightsaber props they did in the originals and the prequels, because those were just handles with the rods, and then special effects artists rotoscoped this stuff later. Well, now they're probably still doing blade rotoscoping and touch-ups on them, but now they have a prop in their hands that's 3 times as expensive to get on set. And I'm kind of like, do we not think that if you start looking at this exponentially, that you've inflated and tripled the price of everything involved in making one of these movies or shows? But this volume thing is not saving you money. It's like, do you remember when Phantom Menace came out? Lucas said this movie is $120 million or whatever it was, because we were getting the technology set up. And then in the next movie, we're going to digital video. So it's going to finally be cheaper because our workflow will be in place, and we'll be going from digital to digital, not film scan to whatever. And then Attack of the Clones came out and everybody was like, well, how much was that movie? And he was like, around the same price. But it was because we had never used the digital video before. And then he said, but Revenge of the Sith will be cheaper. And then it's like, but it wasn't. Like Revenge of the Sith stayed the same price pretty much as well, because other factors kept coming in. And I just keep wondering if that's what we're seeing with that kind of stuff. Like Thor Love and Thunder should have been cheaper because it was filmed in a fishbowl. But clearly that didn't change the price tag at all. It might have been cheaper to film it practically and have a few actual physical props. Am I making sense, or am I just crazy?
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I want to let you get the thought out,
No.
but I think it's like the military, right? Where if you don't use all the budget, they're going to cut you next quarter. So I'm almost wondering if they're like, buy a bunch of pens.
Quick, buy office supplies for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get to a place though where lightsaber fights start to look like the Star Wars Ben and Darth Vader fight, because they're having to be, okay, we can't afford to replace these props, so please be gentle with them.
Well, those special, I know they're not the ones they use for these shows, but that super sophisticated thing they developed for that Galactic Star Cruiser experience, where it actually ignited and retracted on a rod.
I saw that press conference.
Yeah,
or whatever that was. The presentation guy on the stage.
Yeah. It's like, I think you guys are spending way too much, and especially when you're spending that kind of money on things that you're not even going to replicate for public purchase. So you're really not getting the money back on that stuff. Like, you're not making good on your investments here. I just see a steep diminishing return on that kind of strategy. Media Warrior, thank you for the super chat. He says, good news, Babylon 5 is back in a big way. Disney at least got the live action Sabine right. Oh, well, I haven't really seen anything except for like 2 episodes of The Mandalorian, some choice, and that was season 1. I've seen a few choice sequences from Book of Boba Fett, and then I saw the Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, and that was it. I haven't seen any of that stuff, so I'll take your word for it. Take your word for it.
When you watched Kenobi, did you do the unedited or the Patterson? Because I had to do the Patterson, and I still thought it was dumb.
I watched the unedited out of respect for you, and because I knew I was about to do a video about the Patterson. So and that's the only reason that I was torturing myself twice, was because I wanted to do that video about the Patterson cut. And so I watched them both, and the Patterson cut is in many ways like we talked about. I think I brought this up on our Phantom Menace commentary on your show. Is when I was in film school, I cut 45 minutes out of Phantom Menace.
Yep. And
while it certainly helped the plot clip along a little better, it didn't make the plot any more interesting. And that's so, like, you look at the Patterson cut of, now we have a mini series. Okay, so like Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace is something people wanted to see as far as the episode 1-ness of it. They wanted to see episode 1 because they knew Star Wars was episode 4. So they were waiting to see episode 1. So in that sense, Phantom Menace was necessary. Obi-Wan, on the other hand, as a miniseries, totally unnecessary and uninterestingly executed. So now you've got a real problem.
Yeah.
So you can cut as much as you want out of that miniseries. It doesn't make it any less unnecessary. That's the problem. Like, Obi-Wan as a miniseries basically stuck a knife in its throat right before it got out of the gate, and it's like, well, whereas Phantom Menace, you can't say that about. Phantom Menace is an essential story that you may or may not agree with George Lucas's execution on it, but Phantom Menace is something the saga itself was waiting for. Whereas Obi-Wan Kenobi, the saga did not demand it, nor did any of us. Like, it,
Yeah. Do you think the damaging plot points of Kenobi are more damaging because of how much closer we are to the original?
Oh, like yeah.
That Vader Kenobi fight just can't be.
No, it can't be. The Vader Kenobi fight, all of Obi-Wan's closeness with Princess Leia, that doesn't work.
Yeah, when you talk about closeness, you're 10 years old, but you won't always be.
Yeah, it's like, but and also just the whole thing about, like, because Leia wasn't written to be Luke's sibling, and it maintained that for 2 movies before Lucas changed it in the run on Return of the Jedi. He changed it on the fly. All of Obi-Wan's stuff about that boy is our last hope, no, there is another, that starts to become really broken.
Yeah.
Because Return of the Jedi already broke it. Like, in other words, Return of the Jedi is like, yeah, he always knew you had a sister, so why he said that to Yoda last movie, we really don't know now. But this Obi-Wan Kenobi miniseries, what it's going to do is it's going to show Obi-Wan go on this entire adventure with Princess Leia, who he knows is Luke's sibling. And he's still going to end up saying, no, that boy is our last hope. And Yoda's going to say, no, there is another, which makes that even more confused. Like, it was such a bad call. It was such a bad call.
Well, this is what happens when you, one, let things run too long, but then also you get fans out of these decision-making roles.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And like Action Pop Dad is saying, he says the prequels have given us oral knots. Well, I didn't oral knots, didn't they start out by doing riffs on the sequel trilogy? Because he always uses Kylo Ren. So I think I could be wrong. Maybe oral knots did start with prequel satire, but I thought that they started with sequel satire. Let's see. Wow. Hey, McJimmy, thanks for the super chat. He says the problem that Disney Star Wars has is the same problem a lot of modern Western media has. It's embarrassed to be itself. That's very true. That is very true. Very true. Let's see now. Media Warrior, thank you for the super chat. He says Quantum Mania was a CGI quarantine movie. It felt claustrophobic. That's $200 million lost on a $35 million film about a bear cranked. That $200 million movie lost to a $35 million film about a bear cranked out on cocaine. Yeah, also true. Also true. There's something to be said for making movies passionately on a budget. You know, if you watch the original commentary, because Nicholas Meyer has recorded 2 different commentaries. If you watch the unmoderated commentary for Wrath of Khan, he admits that creativity, he says it at the very beginning of the commentary, creativity thrives on limitation. And while he freely admits he doesn't want that to be an excuse for movie studios to clamp down on everything and make people, you know, make movies with peanut shells and bubblegum. What he is saying is that a certain amount of moderation can really help bring energy to a project and bring the best ideas out. You know, you look at some of the best movies that have ever been made. They were made on a measured budget with a quick shooting schedule. Sometimes that schedule still went over, like with the original Star Wars. But like Raiders of the Lost Ark is a great example. Came in under schedule and under budget, and they were shooting down and dirty and quick. And it's one of the best movies ever made. So I don't know. It seems like Disney has proven that you can't throw money at something and guarantee a win. It's not gonna happen, you know. Brian, I've said many times, and I say it on Chronically Online's commentary track of Phantom Menace that I co-host with him. Phantom Menace is my favorite prequel, so you're not in bad company here. Do I look all right? I got all my fingers and toes. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride. We got a Dillingamism for suffering because of sin and greed of others. Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate that, man.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Take it easy, Kieran. Good to see you. Michael has a permanent o'clock shadow. Awesome paint. Yeah, I do. It helps when you're really pale. Anyway, sorry about that. So what do you think about all this, Chronic? I mean, like, I feel like they've hit the wall. I don't think they can keep this up much longer.
Yeah, one of 2 things is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're either going to force their hand and they're going to have to go back on the things that they've been fighting for a really long time. So, for example, physical media is going to have to buff up. And maybe this is how we get the original cuts of Star Wars. Pipe dream, I know, but it's possible. The other one, which, again, I'm not going to be upset about either, is this damn company goes away.
Right.
And I know it's not going to be an overnight thing, and it's going to fall apart in a very public and widespread fire.
Yep.
But I've been pretty anti-Disney since about 2007 because of a personal experience I had at their parks.
Uh-huh.
And then even, you know, when Star Wars was purchased, I've told you, I knew it was going to be bad. I just didn't know it could be this bad.
Right. Yeah. Because they've shown, like, with the way they completely fumbled the other properties in their stable, of which there aren't that many at Lucasfilm to work with. So when you fumble Indiana Jones and Willow, and you haven't been able to generate new properties on your time at Lucasfilm at the same time, you've kind of shown that you don't really have the chops to do this work. And, you know, I think it's hilarious that she was working on that book, Children of Blood and Bone or whatever. And then she was told, you need to get back to making Star Wars stuff because all your Star Wars stuff is in a shambles right now. You need to refocus. And so she ditched that. And I think Paramount or somebody picked it up swiftly. They were like, I want that bestseller. We're going to make that into a movie. And so they lost that opportunity to make something new and original. Not that that team would have done it well. It's probably better that that book got picked up by another company. Thank goodness. It was almost like the angel of death passed over it at the last minute and it didn't get absorbed. But still, it's still another indicator that Lucasfilm is dysfunctional. Analog Toys, thank you for the super chat. He says, a great example of taking an existing IP, reimagining it for the modern day, and making it on a modest budget is the Bourne Identity. Yeah, modestly budgeted films that made back far more than their budgets on each installment. And as Chronic and I were just indicating before, those movies were all made in practical locations on practical, you know, streets and sets and all that kind of stuff. And it shows. Those movies really do feel like, you know, real movies. Yeah.
Bourne's a fantastic series.
Yeah. I think it's the best written trilogy.
Yes. No Jeremy Renner. No Jeremy Renner.
No Jeremy Renner. And I wasn't really a big fan of the fourth Damon one either. The fifth. I was like, it's okay. But it's, you know.
I never saw it because I figured I was like, this is just a reoccurring thing. I imagine it's going to be just like anything else that's come out this late after the lifespan of what was really good.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of the way I felt about it when I saw it. And there's no worry here. It was so forgettable that I can't even remember anything to spoil it for you. Like it was just like, okay, Matt Damon is back as Jason Bourne doing more of the same stuff he did in that trilogy that you liked, but it has nowhere to go. So
I feel like if someone sat me down and blindfolded me while they played Night and Day and then said, oh, you actually watched the newest Bourne movie, I wouldn't have known the difference.
Right.
Because wasn't he always being promoted on some kind of like European scooter? Wasn't there something like he's on like a bike or something in the trailer that I feel like I was seeing all the time?
Yeah, it was yeah, there was something like that. And I flat out cannot remember.
It's okay. You said it was forgettable. So
yeah, it's very forgettable. But that trilogy of movies, I have said, like, I think it's the best written trilogy. And then the adaptation of Lord of the Rings is next. And then after that, I know some people try and trade in their chips on Godfather 1 and 2 to get 3 under there so they can sell that as the best written trilogy. I'm like, no. That doesn't work that way. You got to have consistent goodness across all 3. So for me, it would be Bourne, Lord of the Rings, then Star Wars. And then after that, I'd have to think on it for a while. So,
yeah.
Did
you get the newest Godfather 4K box set? Did we talk about that? How bad that is?
I haven't gotten it yet. I have Godfather 1 and 2 on Blu-ray, and I have the theatrical and coda of 3 on Blu-ray, but I don't have the 4K set yet.
Okay,
no.
Skip it.
Okay.
It's bad.
Really?
There's a couple of shots where they've taken so much grain out that it looks like people that are literally in the same room are green screened into the same shot.
Why? I thought they figured this out with Blu-ray. You're not supposed to do all that. Like all the DNR was going on at Fox. I thought
what I'm starting to figure out is DVD was the last time any of these studios gave a crap.
Mm-hmm. Yep. PM, I was just joking with you, man. I was just joking with you. It's just a joke. I wasn't mad at you. I was joking with you. It's a joke. It's all good. Sorry, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, nothing. I just I filtered myself. I thought about making a joke, but I said no.
I know how that works. I have to filter myself all the time. Media Warrior, thank you for the super chat. He says, my problem with Disney is not the woke stuff, it's the corporate shenanigans. The corporate shenanigans are something that I've been talking about for years and years on YouTube, and they go far before, all the stuff that people are talking about now. And it's because that's where the trouble begins. It's like right now people are making jokes that, well, the actors are obnoxious and the writers are terrible. So what if they strike? And I've said, well, right, but the people they're striking against are the people that enabled them for several generations of entertainment to begin with. So those people who are still in charge are the ones that enabled and empowered and championed those people to write the bad movies and do the, so they still need to be held to task, held to account for their role in all this. So it's that whole thing of my enemy is my friend right now, where it's like, I don't really like the writers in Hollywood right now. I think they're horrible. Like, I think they really are bad at their jobs. Dial of Destiny being one example. I couldn't believe that the people that wrote that movie were the same people that wrote Ford versus Ferrari. And it makes me realize that there are some people who just can't write outside their lane. They really can't write in a different genre. Akiva Goldsman comes to mind as one of the most lopsided writers I've ever seen. But when you're looking at that and then you're looking at the executives, I say to myself, yeah, the writers aren't any good right now, but the executives are the ones that hired them all these years. So the executives need to be taken down a peg. So if it takes the writers and the actors striking to do it, fine, go for it. I hope it does have an effect. Yeah. So
back to the Disney thing real quick. Mm-hmm. We're also dealing with a company that does not care about keeping its own in-house created things the same. So it just doesn't surprise me that, we have these incidents like the French Connection, which by the way, curious on which, do you own that movie?
I own it on the original 2-disc DVD set. I've never upgraded.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
well, the 2009 one was awful on Blu-ray. I know that they had some really bad color stuff with that.
Right.
But I guess the Signature Collection, which I thankfully was able to get a couple days after I found out about this edit, and still at a decent price, because if you go on eBay now, it looks pretty similar to that Dial of Destiny CD.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's awful.
Okay, I'm going there now. I got to see this. So you said Signature Collection French Connection?
Yes, sir.
That's a mouthful.
It sure is.
Okay, Signature Collection French Connection. Oh my God.
What is it at? I'm curious, because it's been about a month since I looked.
Okay, so let's see. Highest price. It's dropped. Huh. Now this says it's the French Connection Signature Collection, but the highest priced one on here is only $49.99.
Can you share?
I can share you one that's sealed that's $19.99. Buy it now.
Really?
Yeah. I've got one here that's a list price for $10.
Dang. Well, I wonder if people like freaked out for a month and then was like, never mind.
It happens that way. Oh, yeah. There's one guy here. Okay, maybe there is a difference, because there are 3 people on here who are selling it. I just typed in French Connection Blu-ray. They're all selling it for over $100. And one says, these are uncensored Blu-rays for the French Connection. But I keep thinking, well, the French Connection on Blu-ray would always be uncensored, right? So what gives? What's the deal? Because there are people on here right now that are selling it for as cheaply as, I think right here. Let me go back to this. And if it's the person I think it is, they're selling it for, where's the $10 guy? Come on, $10 guy. Movie Mars has it for $15.11. I don't know if I don't think any of these got. Rare Waves has it for $12.48. $10.99. Okay, that's okay. Here's one brand new, $10, and it's from Blow It Out of Here. Yeah, those guys are great. They're out of Kentucky. I've bought a ton of stuff from them. So, I wonder if it's the same thing. I can't imagine they would have censored it after the fact.
No, there's been no censoring. They're just the people that are selling it for $100 are just wise to the trick.
Right.
But I mean, I don't think Disney's going to ever put that movie out physically anyway. It's just the problem of if you bought the file digitally, they just updated it for you.
Oh, see, that's why I don't like it when I buy access to a file rather than having an actual downloaded thing. Yeah. Like I was talking about, you know, those soundtracks and stuff, and I think I've bought a movie here and there that wasn't available anywhere else. Like there for a while, you couldn't get Iron Eagle in high def anywhere but an Amazon Prime purchase. And but now I got the Blu-rays out of Spain. So you know, you wait long enough and a European country or Australia will put it out, and then you can just go get it. But let's see. King Eric the Greatest, thank you for the super chat. He says, quick sidebar, Michael, did the World War II map and a few other items in the same package ever arrive? Yes, they did arrive. I just have to remember where I put the box. I know that sounds bad. I haven't opened anything in a while, so I'm gonna have to figure out where that box is. But yes, I do. I feel like your parcel did arrive, but I'm gonna check the PO box tomorrow just to make sure as well. And then Analog Toys, thank you for the super chat. He says, Bourne is the best modern trilogy, but they should have stopped at 3 films, and Indy should have 2. Yeah, unfortunately, it's a shame. Like Bourne had an arc. Indiana Jones could have kept going like Bond, but they didn't know how to do that. Media Warrior, thank you for the super chat again. Greatest writers are the ones who can write anything. That's also true. A lot of these writers today, though, they make their mark writing the one thing they know how to write, and then after that, they start getting put on all these other projects, and they just deliver pablum. It's really unfortunate.
Lots of these writers can write anything. It's just, can they write anything good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Holy crap! Articulated Ninjas also in the house tonight. Thank you, sir, for being here. It's always a pleasure to see you. Okay, so we are caught up on that. So what is your outlook right now for physical media, Chronic, as far as like purchases you want to make? I know you were the one that warned me about the Warner Brothers DVDs that rot out from under you. I went and unfortunately my King Solomon's Mines was good enough like that I was able to rip it no problem and save it, because that movie hasn't even come out on Blu-ray. But are you looking out for certain discs right now, or are you just kind of holding back? What's your situation?
Yeah, I've got a huge list, and I'm trying to kind of keep it quiet because.
Oh, okay.
No. I mean, I mean, like internally, I
didn't mean anything that was out of print. I meant things that are like coming out.
Oh, no. I mean, I'll probably watch the newest Mission Impossible again at some point, but I don't own any of those movies anyway.
Right.
Yeah. As far as like new releases, did you see Oppenheimer?
Not yet. I haven't. I am not as much as I'm into World War II, I'm not really an atomic bomb guy. So like I've seen Fat Man and Little Boy from back in the 80s. But like when they said, oh, he's making a movie about the development of the atomic bomb, I was kind of like, yeah, all right. I know I'm a very pre-atomic, pre-digital guy. And so like I just see that as the beginning of the jet age. And I'm kind of like, I just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead and watch it. You probably won't be upset that the movie is 3 hours, but I can tell you that I will never watch that movie again. And there are scenes that are very like, okay, I get it. Christopher Nolan's self-indulgence. Like there's all these shots of like sparkles and fire, and it's just like, oh my God, dude.
I saw the trailer for it several times, and I was kind of like, well, it's just not. I wouldn't be opposed to watching it, like, but it's not something I'm going to race out and see, and it's definitely not something I'm interested in, like grabbing off of a disc rack and taking home. I'm just not, as much as I'm a World War II guy, I am much more a 1930s through, VE Day kind of guy. Like I've never really been that into the Pacific Theater, which I know a lot about it, but I've never really been into it. I've picked all that up through osmosis. And so because of that, and all that stems from me not being into boats. I'm just not a boat. So like the atomic bomb is the end of all that. I also think that B-29 super fortresses look like flying tampons, which that to me was that was the end of airplanes looking cool.
Yeah.
Like airplanes were starting to look really stamped out, and they lost all their form to function by that point. So there's all these, it sounds shallow, but when you combine it all in the cauldron and stir it up, it's like, oh, now I get why Michael has no interest in Oppenheimer. Like, it's just not, it is not my thing. And I know there's a lot of people who they say they're fascinated by the Manhattan Project and the development of the bomb and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, all right, whatever. Like, it's the same people that get really excited when you talk about the Messerschmitt 262 or the Comet rocket fighter. And I'm just like I can't get there. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, thankfully, there are enough people in the world that find specific interest into these things, right? So we don't have to care about it.
Yeah.
As long as it's preserved, I'm cool with that. Like, the overall thing is I want this stuff to be remembered, documented, so we don't repeat it. But I'm the wrong guy to hold the key to all of that. I'll let someone else do it because they'll probably do a better job anyway.
The short version, for if anybody's out there, is like, Michael, can you sum up what you've just said in one sentence? It would be like, I get excited when an airplane that starts up sounds like it's passing gas. That's what that's my jam right there. And everything that goes beyond that technologically, I kind of start to check out. Like, now don't get me wrong, like, I still legitimately enjoy Iron Eagle, and I really like seeing F-14 Tomcats fly around, but those are now considered old. But that was like my 80s kid brain kind of thing, and I still have some reverence for it. But yeah, like the bomb, it's like, it's so much just like, it's devastating impersonal science that has no conscience. And I look at something like that and I go, oh, the way we got here in 2023, that's where it all started. Okay, that's why our culture is the way it is now. Got it. Okay. Yeah. The bomb leads to this, which leads to social media, which leads to Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk fighting in a cage fight, because that's what I want to see, is two robotic individuals devoid of any human emotion beat each other up in a cage. That's what we've come to.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Shanley88, thank you for the super chat. He says Primer was great and was made for $7,000 in 2003 money. Wow. I've never even heard of that. I'll have to check it out. Just Jeff, thank you for the super chat. He says there's also the cluster that is Alien 3. Good point. That to me kind of ranks there as the broken kind of trilogy, the same way Godfather does, where it's like 1, 2, and like, oh, we can't get around that one. Laser Pants says Articulated Ninja was rocking a brand new pair of Air Pilgrims at PowerCon. I am about to show my ignorance, so I'm going to look that up real quick before I'm dumb. Not even the internet knows what that is.
He must have had some kind of like slipper with a boost. I think he's poking at his kicks.
Let's see. Okay, I see. I see what it is. Oh, these are those tennis shoes that look like you slipped like a house slipper on, and then Spider-Man like thwipped webbing all over the outside of it. Okay, got it. That's not an insult, by the way. That's just the only way I know how to describe what it looks like. Let me see. Jeremy Kerr says, I wish I had grabbed the last Voltron box set. Was that the one that was just the Lion Force stuff, or was it like the whole saga? I can't remember. Somebody says Oppenheimer was probably Nolan's best movie. As somebody who is not really agog over Oppenheimer, like I did not like Inception. I thought Dunkirk, while it was I admire the real filmmaking that went into it, of the in-camera stuff. Like that's the part about Nolan I like. Some of the ways he tells stories and the ways he sets things up. Like I was not a fan of Memento as an example. The projects he chooses and the way he goes about structuring a story sometimes, like he went full Memento on Dunkirk. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't need all the time switching stuff. Like I need a straight, you know, it wasn't that it was confusing. I was able to follow it. I just didn't like it. Let's see. Yes. Axis and Allies. That's a great board game from back in the day. We had Axis and Allies Europe for a while, and I wish I could find it because somehow when I went to college, my parents lost I don't know if they lost it or if my brother took it, but I haven't seen that board game since. So, okay. Well, it is 1:40 into this, and I have 2 packages here. Unless nope, there's the knife. Real quick to open. So let me do that real quick. King Eric, I will make sure that I find the package. I will check the PO box tomorrow. It's not here in my immediate vicinity, but I'm not worried about it. So just let me check tomorrow. Good to see you too, Yesterland Toys and Mike Jesus. I'm really mad about what Super 7 did, pulling the rug out from under everybody on that. I saw the writing on the wall and I backed out of that order, as you know, because I did the video talking about it. But they've upped the price on those to $65 a figure. And they're the same toys that they said they couldn't do before. It's really underhanded. So if I cave and end up getting those Silverhawks, as always, I would only be getting the Hawks. I wouldn't be getting anything else. But he still hasn't shown a Copper Kid yet. So until that happens, I'm still very, very suspicious. I just am. Okay. So I have a special parcel here from George Aiken, sent all the way from Scotland. And I believe I know what's in it. But just to be sure, let's see here. The new Silverhawks Michael Schaefer, I don't know if they're plated or back metal. I'm not sure. But that's a good question. You gorgeous, gorgeous man, George. Okay, first he sent Scottish Butter Fudge.
Nice.
And he sent my addiction as padding, no less, because my favorite candy also doubles as safety padding for an item. two full uneaten, brand new bags of Chamalos. Now here's the thing. It looks like we really are suffering worldwide inflation because I got a bag of these from Scuba Pete when he came back and it was only $1. And now it's gone up to $1.25. So we're all suffering the state of the world. Oh crap, I accidentally just opened that.
There's your sign. You got to eat them.
No matter. So here we go. Oh, and burger up the gods. All right. Okay. Oh.
Well, when Arizona tea raises its price, you know it's bad.
Yeah, for real. He sent me a free. Apparently, the Scottish Sun magazine used to give away DVDs with their publication, and he sent me a free DVD of all things Santa Claus the movie from the Scottish Sun magazine, which is hilarious.
Who's in that?
What's that?
Who's in that?
Dudley Moore and I can't remember the guy who plays Santa Claus. Dudley Moore, John Lithgow, and David Huddleston.
Okay. And
Burgess Meredith, who I can't even remember where Burgess Meredith is in that film. Okay. Oh, George. So he says here, I think this is a letter. He says, I've enclosed the thing you need to finish your video and some snacks. Yours, George. First of all, George, thank you so much for the Chamalos and the fudge and the movie, but he is correct. In here is the last piece that I was looking for to fully complete my BBC Robin Hood toy collection, the Robin Hood with horse set that I needed this horse. I had to see a man about a horse, and it was George Aiken. So thank you, sir. Very, very kind. And now I have one more parcel to open up that I think is going to be of far more interest to you, Chronic. So stand by. I just want to catch up on these super chats. KBA, thank you for the super chat. He says, is Scotland another made-up country like Australia? Made up in the best way possible. That's right. All right, here we go. So
maybe dolled up was the word we were looking for.
So I have here a box.
Nice.
That is a replacement for an item that I ordered to do a video on. Now, I had planned to do this video before I started working on the Indy 5 thing. Unfortunately, because the thing I ordered had malfunctioned, and they did send this for free to replace it or whatever, that the window was missed for me to be able to do this video before the Indy 5 review. But I purchased this. I was very excited to purchase it because I'm hoping it will be my last mile in this journey to finally have this item that has been long absent from my collection. All right, so stand by, and I think this is now open. Oh, I hope to goodness. Oh, it lifts off all the way. Stand by. I thought that was a hinge. All right. Come on. Come on, blade thingy. Get in there. This is going well. They really, really taped this up. Everybody talk amongst yourselves.
They got like an AliExpress tape job going.
Yeah, here we go. I think I got it this time. Okay. Yep, got it. Crossing my fingers and hoping that everything inside is okay. Okay, it looks okay so far. I don't see any denting but it's still in the. Okay, hold on. Come on. There we go. Okay.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm. So this is I have props of this, obviously. I've had props for long time. But this one is an accurate, minus a few little things that I'm going to talk about in the video. This is an accurate prop Graflex that is also a NeoPixel saber.
Nice.
So it has it's hard to see down there. Let's see if I can. No, you won't be able to see it.
Kind of I see the motherboard. Yep. Or the clip connectors. Yeah.
Stuff. The buttons are hidden underneath the board right here, so it's all there's nothing clunky, sticking out and calling it out as something compromised. So I'm going to be doing a review of this as soon as I get the Indy 5 video done. But this is I'm hoping the last Graflex I ever have to buy, because I have a lot of them at this point.
Can you say where it's from?
Yeah, I bought this from N Sabers.
Okay.
N Sabers.
Yeah.
So
it's a Force Awakens one then, huh? Because it's got the blue button on the front with the screws and the T-tracks.
Oh, you mean this thing right here, the test lamp?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's because it kind of looks like a combo.
The test lamp. So the Empire Strikes Back lightsaber is easily the most confusing prop history when you go through the movie. Like there's Empire Strikes Back traditionally is known as having the clamp with the screws on the bottom of the grips, and then it's got 2 buttons. So 1 button here and 1 button here, this button, but it's on there twice. But there are some the Dagobah one, and there's a few other scenes where like this lens is completely gone, or maybe this button's missing, I can't remember. But and then the Force Awakens one has the Empire grips on it with the rivets, but it puts what I call the New Hope test lamp lens back on. So it's kind of a hybrid of all that. So what's your knowledge base on this? Because you've got some esoteric knowledge about this stuff too.
Well, mostly learned from you, I will say, but yeah, like when I was looking at that, I couldn't tell if the actual like blue portion of that test lamp was in the front.
Oh yeah. So this is the front of the Graflex.
So it has the blue in there, or is that a reflection?
This is currently just a reflective test lamp, but when you put the blade in there and you turn it on, it reflects through and it's blue.
Okay, yeah. So to me, that is Force Awakens, because when I think of Empire, I think of the double red button.
Right, but here's the interesting part is that the only reason that this thing wasn't blue in New Hope was because they didn't have the FX technology running through it that made it blue, but it still had this on the front because it was just a Graflex flash. The only thing that made it different was it had a bubble lens here, and it didn't have the riveted grips. Yeah. But it still had this on the front. It just didn't turn blue because they were rotoscoping in the blade later.
Right.
So now what you can do, which is cool about this, because this is based on this replica of this Graflex is exact. You can actually unscrew these pieces and they are interchangeable with other Graflex replacement parts. Nice. So I can take this off, and in fact, I can do it right now. Stand by. I'm going to do this right now. I will set this carefully on these Chamalos, where it will not get Chamalos, doing all kinds of amazing things without even having to be asked. All right, right back.
Right on.
All right, so watch this. So this right here is the one that showed up that had the malfunctioning button on it, right? The advantage that I have with the quality of this Graflex that they've provided is that these are interchangeable. So here's the one that I just got today. Here's the one that didn't work out. I'll just take this button off as I drop it because
hey, it's Star Wars universe. It's got to be worn.
It's got to be, yeah, it's got to be weathered and worn down. All right, there we go. So I got this button right here, and hope I didn't break the button. That would be really funny if I can't imagine I did. All right, so now I'm going to undo this. And out comes the spring and the lens. And here we go.
If you guys were ever curious what happened between Star Wars and Empire, this is all of it.
Yep. And there you go. Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yes, sir.
And that's Empire for you. So yes. There's an Empire NeoPixel saber in the making.
Nice.
That's it. That's all it took.
Are they making you send that other one back?
I asked them if they wanted it back, and they said no.
Nice. Well, let me know if you want to sell the spare.
I'm like, oh yeah. Well, if I sell the spare, you won't have all the parts with it.
I can buy another red button. Do those buttons have a click to them? Like, can you press them in, or are they stationary?
Well, this one just kind of moves around a little bit, but that might have been because I dropped it.
Oh well.
But it doesn't come out in the housing.
Yeah.
The other one on the back, it doesn't move at all. It's just stationary. So
hey, I've never asked you, when Finn turns the lightsaber on with that red button, how hard were you face palming?
I was face palming really hard. I was really not happy about that. I was like, wow, Thanks, J.J. Abrams, for being a doofus when it comes to Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like you dummy that adjusts the blade length.
Right. It doesn't. Yeah. It's like, yeah. So yes, I have the blade with it, Storm Rising. The blade came with the original shipment. They didn't need to send me another blade. The blade was working. It's just, this. So, but yeah, so there we go. And then I got this guy right here. So I got to figure out, and that's the thing. You never know with these Graflexes that are being sold all over the place now. What the body housing of each Graflex is. So I'm always worried about, well, is this part of the interchangeability of the part, or is this particular one not interchangeable with this other one? I've got a bunch of Graflex replicas upstairs. I'm going to test out the threads on all of them and see which ones fit what, because that's going to be part of the review is, can you just go get like a Graflex button from a known Graflex replica shop and will it fit on the N-Saber's hilt? I think that'd be valuable information for someone to have. So the only thing I don't like about this replica is the placement of the D-ring is on the wrong side of the saber. So like the D-ring is on the side with the clamp where you really want it on the opposite side so that when it rests against your leg on your belt, this is facing outward, because otherwise this is going to be digging into your leg all the time and it's going to look stupid. So,
that control box looks pretty big too.
Yes, it does. And the control box is larger because they've worked the button controls into it.
Right.
So the button controls are underneath. Yeah.
I think varying companies, sometimes it's like actual size. That one looks a lot like the spring-loaded lightsaber from 2007, the Hasbro one.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of a larger look to it. The thing is that because I have so many of the authentic Graflex replicas and an authentic Graflex, this is just me trying to dial in a little closer to when I bought it, I was like, well, it's the Graflex. I'm sure it's gonna have some compromises because it's a NeoPixel.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like the only time I've ever seen people offering a NeoPixel lightsaber and it's authentically Graflex, it's almost like you've got to get it from some guy who does customizations every now and then as one-offs and then puts them up online. But I could be wrong. Like maybe I'm missing out on a vendor that does it exactly. So
Corbanth does.
Oh, Corbanth does.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really want an Attack of the Clones Anakin NeoPixel, but I would want the blade green because of some of the offshoot air colors where they have him holding two lightsabers, but then they make that blade color green.
Oh, okay. So now you've got me looking over at Corbanth sabers. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. Whatever.
I have about 6 lightsabers of theirs that I want because they do the weathered actual Luke Return of the Jedi rather than the pretty version that you see in promo stuff.
Right.
I want that one bad.
Okay, so installed Graflex Supreme N-Pixel Saber NeoPixel from Corbanth. Choose options, chassis, blade. Boy. Okay,
yeah,
so I got my saber for, I'm not going to say it was 50% less, but it was in the 40% less range, like than what they're offering here.
Yeah.
And that alone, like, this is real pretty though. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking at the photographs. This is very pretty. I'm not going to lie. So
they're one of the only ones that do the Episode 3 Sidious lightsaber the right way, because the Hasbro one looks like a freaking adult toy. It's so wide.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is the Vader saber so much more expensive than even the Graflex saber?
Which one? Because I think they do all 3.
Yeah, this just looks like the classic trilogy one, I guess. Although now that I'm saying that, the Luke Jedi lightsaber is really expensive too.
Yeah.
So, man,
I think they must do smaller runs on some of those hilts. I think that may be why. Because their pre-order windows are really long. I've seen people wait quite a long time for their stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They'll announce stuff and it'll be March and it'll be like, this is coming in August. Like, dang, dude.
What's Trooper Trent weathering? I don't even know what that is.
I think it's some in-house guy that they have that can make the sabers look more battle worn.
Ah, okay.
Because if you look at that Luke one, for example, that one's like really shiny and
right. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, everybody. Oh, I think we have some more super chats real quick before I call this. Hold on a second. Smash my back doors in. Thank you for the super chat. He says NECA are making a new April permed hair version. Really? All right. Well, I will watch for that since it's Mirage based. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, it's in Sabers, Dr. Sleep, but check out this Corbanth Sabers place too. Corbanth, KORBANTH.com. They seem to have some really nice stuff. Although, like Chronic just said, you'll wait a long time for some of them. And yeah, that Anakin one from Attack of the Clones, that's a pricey item, but it's got the LEDs on the side and everything.
Vader Sabers makes that one too, and they do it a little cheaper, so I'd probably go that route.
Oh, really?
But I wouldn't order it with the blade because what am I going to do? Turn that on for 2 seconds, swing it around, and then put it back in the case? I would order all this probably empty. I would just get an empty hilt.
Oh, okay. So would you have it already? So you wouldn't even want the electronics in it?
No, I wouldn't need it.
Okay.
Because I'd never take it to a convention.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So no blade. I mean, here's the other thing. Do these guys at Corbanth even offer it without electronics inside?
Yep, you can order empty hilts. You just have to go to the empty hilts tab at the top.
Oh, well, that's where I'm being dumb. Well, there they go. Empty sabers. Okay. So the empty saber Graflex is between $249 and $424. Good Lord.
They have another one, though, that has all the optional parts for Star Wars and Empire, and you can put it together yourself. And I think that one's closer to $189. And I would get that one because I would want the A New Hope anyway.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I'm just seeing one entry here for the empty Graflex, and it doesn't seem to have the extra options for determining which movie you're buying.
Okay, maybe that one I'm talking about sold out because they had like a few of those.
Right.
When I was looking, this was a couple months ago now.
Sure. Wolfie, thank you so much for the kind super chat. He says, glad I caught you guys. If you're doing a true 1-to-1 Graflex replica, there are no threads on the battery tube bottom. It stayed in place by the clamp. Yeah. So you would be able to turn the bottom to your liking. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have actual Graflexes and 1-to-1 Graflex replicas. This particular maker, unfortunately, now again, I'm not hurting for hilts. I've got plenty of Graflex hilts. I'm not losing any sleep over this. I just wanted to have something that had a NeoPixel blade in it just for the novelty of it. And so I tried this guy out. And again, the quality of it is good. Like it's not bad. I'm going to be doing a full review of it, but yeah, like I'm not done yet in the lightsaber game. I feel like I'm getting close to the summit, but I'm not done yet. There's still more to go. So and with that, let everybody know, Chronic, where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube, Chronically Online, spelled with a 0.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find me on Instagram, Chronically Online, spelled with a 0 and a 3. So 0 for the O, 3 for the E. Because a lot of people like that name, I guess.
And if we have one last from Darth Wizzy Wizard, it's a hard thing to answer, Darth. Who makes the most authentic ESB Luke saber? I couldn't tell you. I'm still searching. So we're all searching together. So and authentic depends on what scene you want it from. So everybody, I highly encourage you to check out Chronically Online's YouTube channel. And I really appreciate you jumping into the chat tonight and hanging out with me.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Really kind of you.
Yeah. And with that, I will end this stream tonight and get back to working on the Indiana Jones review so it can be done hopefully closer to the closer to the middle of August than the end, although we're fast approaching the end of August because I've also got to get a man-child news out before the end. But end of the month. But in the meantime, everybody just have a great night, and I'll see you on the next video.